Recording. So this is episode 1 of our podcast.
Ooh, where'd you get the idea for a podcast?
Paul Sanders.
Ooh.
I've just been on one with him.
And how was it?
Yeah, it was good. I don't think it's even out yet.
So if we're really quick to the punchline, we can steal his fan base, yeah? just an idea. What are we going to talk about today?
The local music scene.
Like Cov Music Scene and...
Yeah, mainly Coventry, where we're from. We can broaden some of the rest of the UK, because there does seem to be a bit of a divide from Coventry's music scene to what's going on in the UK, even though we're in it.
Yeah.
It seems very separated, the bands you get here and the bands that are doing well out there.
Well, we can talk about some of the stuff that we've experienced a bit later about when we've gone to other parts of the country and about how we've gone, wow, this is completely different to what we used to.
Yeah. Which seems to happen every single time we go outside of here.
So, do you remember in the beginning, there was me came up with this idea about, I'm going to play one of my guitars and we'll make a video. And then it was like, it wasn't about me playing the guitar and showing what I can and can't do. It was more about, I own this guitar and it weighs this much and it's really pretty and it's really good for this kind of thing.
The first lockdown
do you remember that?
videos, yeah.
Yeah, so we did 3 of them. And somebody asked me a couple of weeks ago, they went, why have you only done 3? Because I know you've got shitloads of guitars. Why have we only done 3?
Boredom, I guess. You got bored of doing them, and I got bored of editing.
Yeah, because I used to video clips, send them over via WhatsApp or whatever, and then you put this nice little video package thing together, which is really, really, really skillful, because apparently you don't make videos.
No, I don't. It was the most basic editing on some software that is free, I think, or I've stole it off the internet, and I don't really know how to use it.
Nothing wrong with that.
I tend to do that quite a bit. So I don't really know what I'm doing. I just put it together.
Well, I quite enjoyed doing them, and maybe we'll revisit that again. But the initial thing was...
Really?
Hello. Go on, take it. We'll keep it in. We'll keep it in. Keep it in. Go on.
I'll keep in the fact that my phone has unprofessionally gone off in the middle of a podcast, and it was Paul Sanders. After we've just mentioned stealing his idea.
It's like he's around the corner listening or something. So let's talk about the music scene in Coventry. If I talk about like my perspective from when I was a teenager getting into music, and then we'll sort of compare it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if I go back to when I was sort of 15, listening to music, and then decided that I wanted to be a legend in my own bedroom or whatever. So I used to listen to like rockabilly music, like Stray Cats and psychobilly stuff, because I like the horror kind of genre stuff going on. And the Meteors were doing that, so that was really good and interesting to get into. But secretly had a passion from the age of 12 when I first listened to the Bloody Sabbath album. Secretly had a passion to grow my hair really long and play in a metal band that was called a rock band back then. So with 2 friends of mine, Alan West, who I can talk about him a bit later, and Ian Randall on drums, and then there's quite a lot of rockabillys that just sort of started making their own bands. So back then, Sam Smith, who now plays for the Voodoo Kings, he's been playing that kind of music sort of all his life, and he's brilliant at it. So he's had a lot of success. He's been in the Scarbilly Rebels and bands like that. So yeah, that's how I got into playing music, and Sam once played in a band with Alan and myself. So the original band was called Raw Move. We wrote our own music, and the reason we wrote our own music is because we weren't actually good enough to play cover songs. And I think that's got a lot more to do with how musical genres sort of changed, because you had different categories, and then like now you have subcategories of music. It's not just funk; there's jazz funk. Yeah, if you're in a rock band or a metal band, you kind of have to put core somewhere in there.
Yeah, it seems to be the thing. I don't understand them. I remember metalcore because I was in a metalcore band.
Yeah.
I didn't even choose to be in that band. You put me in it.
Yeah. Go on. Tell everybody
when
how...
we was at Coventry Boys Club.
Go for it.
Yeah, I was working there at that point. I don't think I was the caretaker quite yet with the keys. I was doing all the food. And a group of kids came in. They were 16. I just turned 18. Looking for a drummer, and as I walk past, and you point straight to me, he's a drummer.
He's a drummer.
So I'll have a jam. And then I was suddenly in the band. Like, that was it. I was there for 2 months, 3 months. Played 2 gigs.
Yeah, so if we go back to like when I was playing, having your own equipment was really difficult because stuff was expensive, really expensive. So I had a guitar that I borrowed and then built one out of a table. But then when I played a gig, I borrowed a guitar off a friend called Ian Downs, and another friend, Anthony Moore, lent me his guitar. He used to play in a band called Firefly back in the day. We can talk about that a bit later as well. So what's the difference? Like, I had to practice in the back room of a pub if somebody lent me the room. So we'd practice in the back room of a pub for, I don't know, £4 or whatever it was, which is a lot of money back then, or in a school if we were lucky, and then we could use some of the equipment. So what was the difference between that and what you had to do?
Well, I started at boys' clubs, didn't I? So for me, I was probably even more lucky than people of my generation. Some people, they go to practice rooms and you pay this much money and you get a room, the kit's already there. You just bring maybe your head. You don't even need to do that. They'll provide your cables and everything now. But I came to boys' club. I was paying 50p at the door to get in and just not be on the street. And there happened to be a music room down the bottom that I just, there you go. You can learn drums for free. Well, 50p on the door. And Rich taught me, didn't he? Richard Summerscale.
Who plays in a band called
the Black Belts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I'll just try and remind people of what went on down there. So we had some music rooms. My son, Sean Bickerton, he used to come down. He used to do sound and stuff for people. He'd jam in with people and teach people. I would too. We kind of put a house band together with Richard Summerscale, which then later on we went out as an actual band for a couple of times. Sean was primarily known because he was one of the guitar players in the Coventry band Finish Him. You did a gig with him, yeah?
I did. That was the first gig I ever played in the Casbah. That band that I got through into, we opened for them. Kill Progression as well.
So what was that like? First gig? How old were you?
This was another thing that I actually spoke recently with Paul Sanders. We covered this exact topic. It was for a first gig. It was probably one of the best ones you could hope for. It's a full room in the Casbah.
That's pretty awesome.
Everyone liked Finish Him, and it was towards the end of them. Really, they didn't do many gigs after that.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then Sean obviously moved to Brighton. Was it Brighton?
Bristol.
Bristol.
Down in Bristol.
I always get the B right, but I always go to
down
Brighton
in Bristol
first.
where they got Pirates and cider in it.
Yeah, he moved, and I think Finish Him did one gig here in the Arches. After that, Sean came down for it.
Yeah.
And that was the last time I saw Finish Him as Finish Him.
I actually stood in for Flea on one of the gigs at the Casbah.
Yeah?
Yeah, so it's weird being in a band like that because it was not really my kind of music. And Sean sort of said, "Would you jump in?" So, and they used to wear suits and stuff, like shirt, tie, and that's the first time, apart from being in a wedding band once, that I actually dressed like that on a stage. And it was really, really interesting to see the difference between a finishing audience and the kind of audiences I'd played at when I was younger. Plus, like, I had to learn their music, which is really, really completely different to anything I've ever played, and the timings are all over, but really enjoyed it. So if I go back to when I was sort of growing up, the kind of places, I think there was only one place that I can remember that had like rehearsal rooms, which is probably why we went in schools and stuff. I think there was a place called Sight and Sound, which isn't far from where we are now, which used to be near an old slaughterhouse about literally just like 700 yards away from here. And that was owned by the wife of Richard Hemming, who owns Strings and Things. So, yeah, that's how you kind of met people in guitar shops or whatever. You put a sticker up. I don't know if people do that now. They just go on the internet and go on Facebook.
Yeah, no, for a little while, that was joinmyband.com. I'm not sure if anyone uses that now. I think everyone just knows each other on Facebook and all the Facebook groups that exist, Coventry Musicians and Cov Rock and all them. Everyone just advertises on there. Yeah,
so like your experience at your first gig. So we were lucky enough that we went and seen, like I went to see the Meteors at the Lanch Polytechnic, which is now Coventry University. So in their sports hall, that downstairs and upstairs, they used to have gigs. So I went to see the Meteors there, and the band that was supporting them was a local Coventry band called I think they were called the West. So the guy was Johnny Thompson, who recently passed away. Johnny Thompson and what's his name? Fred plays in DJF. Yeah, so it was like Johnny Wild and the City Centre Shakers. Then they became the West. So I went up and spoke to them at a gig. We sort of went to see them a couple of times at different places, and they were kind enough to just give us a show. So we did our first gig at the Red House, which no longer exists.
Nope.
Then became Fatty Arbuckles or whatever. So we did a gig there on one night, and they said, "What are you doing next week on blah blah blah?" Friday night, I think it was, and we went, "Nothing." And they went, "Well, be at the General Wolf." So we went from playing this little pub where I was petrified to playing the General Wolf, which was like one of the biggest venues in Coventry at the time for local music scene.
Is now also a closed building.
Yeah,
it was Toros Steakhouse.
Oh yeah,
for a while, and that's moved. So that's Spawn Street now in City Centre, and now it's just a closed building. There's nothing there.
So I think the difference, if you look at it back then, there wasn't that much support, sort of venue wise, because there was no real like huge venues. Like now you've got the Casbah, has been around for a long time. It was a TikTok club before that, and what's the other one? You've got the Empire now, haven't you?
Big.
And the Arches, and and these kind of places. Whereas, sort of when I was growing up, if you got onto the General Wolf, that was pretty good. And then the Dog and Trumpet sort of were doing a lot of stuff in the sort of 80s and 90s. That was a good place to play as well. And then what's that one now? Is it called the Ivy Lounge?
The Ivy House.
Ivy House, right.
Yeah,
so
they put on gigs for a while. They're not a music venue.
Yeah, so that used to be the Godiva. So that's where all the rock bands used to play.
Yeah, and the Dive.
Yeah,
and
the Dive, yeah.
Rosie Malone's at one point.
Yeah. So there were other places to play around Coventry, and Gosford Street was probably one of the best places to go, because you had the Hertford, the Pitt's Head, the Hand and Heart, and I played gigs in pretty much all of them. And and then Hope and Anchor, which was around the club from the Boys Club.
Yep.
Yeah. So occasionally they used to put gigs on and stuff. But yeah, I could probably make a tour T-shirt of all the pubs I've played in Coventry that no longer exist.
I've always heard that the Hope and Anchor was where the Specials played one of their very, very early gigs.
Yeah. So I remember they got one of those plaques, the two-tone plaques that they put up around Coventry to commemorate where things happen. And it wasn't long after they got that plaque, because we worked at the Boys Club together, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I remember we came around the corner, and all of a sudden they'd fenced off the pub, which we were in there probably a week before. I remember sitting in there a week before having a beer, and they'd fenced it off, and it had just been commemorated as this place where the Specials once played, and then they just bulldozed it.
Yeah, and it was just rubble for ages.
Yeah.
I remember we talked about when at Boys Club we did the Heritage Lottery music project. And we
that was fun to do.
Tried to do everything from, was it the 60s?
Yeah,
onwards?
So we were doing things like Chuck Berry came and recorded My Dingaling at Coventry Theatre.
Yeah.
Which was called the Hippodrome or something back then.
Oh man, the Locarno.
Yeah, so
you recorded in the Locarno.
That's it, the Locarno, not the Hippodrome. So the Locarno is now the library, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just the public toilet that everybody goes to now.
Yeah. The free space.
Next to HMV. Yeah, it's very different. There seem to be a lot more places back then, like little places where you could just go and play. Whereas now there's places that are dedicated venues and not really little places here and there. You can just go and have a play.
There's benefits to playing both. So the benefit to playing a small pub where you're standing on the carpet at the same height as everybody else in the room, and there's always that Kevin that's drunk 4 inches away from your face going, "Play Parisian Walkways," that you just want to go, "No, go away." So the benefit of that kind of place is you really get quite a good atmosphere.
Yeah.
Because everybody is specifically come because there's music in that pub that night. So there's a place in Rugby. Is it called the Charterhouse?
The Courthouse.
Courthouse in Rugby, yeah. So that's that kind of place, and it's a really, really good place to play. It's big enough to put a band in, and lots of people cram in there, and it's just a really good night. And then there's places like the Casbah. Now, I played the Casbah quite a few times. It's not one of my favourite venues. It's okay, but I just think there's that disconnect between the audience and the band. And I think that's got a lot to do about, we'll talk about this a bit more in a minute, like the support networks in Coventry for bands. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I know what you mean. My experience in the Casbah has always been pretty good, uh, but I suppose it's depending on what I was going to go and see. So when I was 16, they were the first gigs I went to when it came to local scene, finishing Lip Shock, bands like that.
Yeah,
Back
yeah.
then, there was always pulling crowds in there, and I didn't really know anything much about the scene. Dog and Trumpet, I don't think he was putting on gigs yet. So that was my place that I went to. I didn't go to the Campbell because I wasn't old enough
Yeah,
at that time. Like
forgot-
that stopped people. It didn't stop people in the Dog and Trumpet either.
absolutely. See, I forgot
Everybody
to
knows
mention the
it.
Campbell because the problem with being this old is I've probably played in every club or pub or whatever in and around, and then for a long time I was out in the wilderness playing in like a covers band, you know, like in the social clubs,
Yeah.
where they all dress the same. And then you got like a girl singer, and you're all doing all this variety stuff.
Yeah.
I'm waving my hands now like I'm doing some sort of dance. So yeah, for a while I played in that kind of thing because to me back then it was actually not about music. It was about I just needed some money. So I played up and down all over the place. Like we had a van and a PA, and we played from Coventry all the way through to Manchester and back, sort of 3 or 4 nights a week, as long as holding down a normal job. That paid for a lot of pretty guitars. So in one regard, am I sad about that I did that? No, not really. I played 1 million gigs. Am I sad about that I did that and it kind of feels like you sold out? No, again, not really, because I bought a load of really nice stuff, which I still have. Would I do it again? Probably not. Probably go down the route of doing what you did and being involved in the local scene.
Yeah.
Because I think the thing is, and most people don't know this about me, and I'm quite shy. Do you know, you have to get to know me before I talk.
Yeah.
You've seen me at gigs.
This is
like,
probably for a lot of people the most they've heard you talk.
Yeah.
But it's easier because they're not here.
Absolutely.
You just talk
If
to
this
them like
room
you're
was full of
talking to
people,
me.
what would I do? Like, what do I do after a gig?
You just sort of sit in the corner, go, where is the merch stand? I'll stand near it, but I won't talk to anyone at it.
So I take my hat off, I put my hair in a bun, I put a hoodie on, and I change what I look like, and I come off. And most people don't realise it's me. And if people go, oh, that was really good, I get really embarrassed and go, oh, thanks. Because I just never learned to deal with it.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of the same, but I don't have much choice. I want to be involved in the scene, so I have to talk to people. But I think a lot of people kind of know who I am, but don't know like who I am.
Who you are, where did you come
I
from?
don't know how to explain it really. They know who Adam is.
Yeah.
He's the guy from the Archers. He does the posters, does this. He's in the Unresolved.
Yeah.
But they don't know much about me.
So from my sort of, I've known you a long time now.
10 years this year.
Absolutely. And we get on like a house on fire.
Yeah.
But let's just touch on the bit where we didn't. Because
This
is about what this is about, right? This whole thing is about opinions. So, yeah, we've covered the differences between how we got into music and, you know, that kind of thing. So let's talk about how an opinion can really, like, piss somebody off.
Yeah, so this was from when I decided, let's do metal to the masses.
Which to me was just a gig.
Yeah, to me it was more... I'd played it the previous year in Slack Alice. Slack Alice had no business being in it because we were a bluesy groove rock band.
That's controversial.
Playing, we didn't. We didn't. Like the members of the band, if you want to message me about it and have a talk, fine. But we didn't have any business being in metal to the masses as a blues groovy rock band. It was like you don't see Super Hooch in metal to the masses because
They're not.
They're
not
like,
metal.
Yeah, exactly. Neither were we, but we got through, and it was more that I noticed how much people came to metal to the masses. It was full crowds, and we'd played a few gigs, but we never played to anyone really. We brought a couple of people, like my mum would come,
Yeah.
and you'd bring someone. So
People
that it
come
would end up
along,
being
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
10, 12 people in a room. We hadn't played to a full room.
No, we hadn't.
And we had this cover on Facebook, or a banner it's called now, and it said Unresolved, the best band you've never heard of.
Yeah, that was the phrase I came up with because I just thought if nobody's ever heard of us, we must be good.
Yeah.
You know, it's just something to throw in people's faces so they can go, well, I've never heard of you, and go, well, come to our fucking gig then. Do you know what I mean? It was in my head. It's a challenge. It's like,
Yeah.
if we're the best band you never heard of and you think we're shit, come to our gig, tell me we're shit. I'm happy with that. You know?
Yeah. And to me, I just really didn't like the phrase. I don't want to be the best band you never heard of. I wanted to like be in a band that I could play in front of somebody and that we have been heard of. That's usually what people go for. If they're playing in a band, they want to make music and people hear it. That's what I put two and two together. As this is going to be a full room. Let's play metal to the masses. I didn't mention the fact that I knew there were judges that you could get feedback for afterwards.
Yeah, I didn't know about that.
And we played. It just so happened that we played the first heat. So we opened the metal to the masses, and the three bands that we were playing with or competing against, depending on how you look at the competition, or happened to be three bands who were finalists of the previous year. So it was a given we're not getting through anyway.
We were definitely underdogs.
This is a gig, but we're not getting through. They're getting through.
But it's that thing though, isn't it? We came and we played a venue that was fucking packed.
Yeah, that I wanted to play to a room. If we wanted to get through, it was kind of just unlucky. But I wanted the playing two people to get that experience, and I wanted to then be able to message them, the judges afterwards, and go, can we get feedback for how it was?
That's the bit I wasn't aware of, right?
Yeah.
So from my
perspective,
from my perspective, it was a case of we're going to play this gig. It's guaranteed there's going to be an audience. It's a chance to test out the music that we wrote, because we started as a cover band and then quickly said, shit, let's write our own music, which we did.
Yeah.
We don't really play a lot of the songs that we used to back then.
No, everything's sort of evolved since then. But shall we say it felt like we played all right, but we didn't.
So me, right, I played this gig, I came off all sweaty, and I'm feeling really good about it, because people were jumping around, and, everyone was having a really good time. And then we stood and we watched the other bands, and that was cool, seeing other bands. And then I knew nothing about this voting. I knew nothing about feedback. I knew it was a competition, but I didn't know how it worked. So we didn't get through, no biggie. It was great. I got to play my music to a room full of people. And then a week went by, and did you send me a text of like their breakdown and their summary?
Yeah. So I went away and messaged Jay Shredder, who did the sound for all Metal to the Masses. And I asked him, look, I know that you're one of the judges this year. I didn't know who everyone else was, so I asked him, could you gather feedback for the Unresolved, for what we did on Heat 1? And he messaged me everything. Like, there might be about 5 paragraphs there. Yeah. And I just copied and pasted it, sent it into our group chat, and just waited.
That was fun. That was like throwing a hand grenade into a room and then just fucking walking off.
Yeah, because I'd watched the video back already, because we got filmed by Tony Rowan. He was at the back with his camera like he was at most gigs, and he filmed it from sort of the sound desk, and I'd already watched it back and was like, this is pretty bad. So it was just, the one word that seemed to stick in your head was sloppy.
Yeah, I got really super offended at that one.
Yeah, sloppy transitioning from
one song
one
to
part
another.
of a song, like say verse to chorus or chorus to solos, from solo back into chorus, and then song to song.
Yeah, the dead air in between the songs.
Yeah, we seemed lost, and it was true. I read it and was like, yep, exactly, because I'd watched the video back and I thought the same thing, and I was stood in the room watching the other bands going, these are wicked.
So this is what transpires, okay? So me and Adam, we've been like hanging out in bands, boys club, whatever. And so I read all this stuff that sounds to me just like unnecessary criticism.
Like you're getting bashed.
Like, like some fucker's opinion. And this goes back to what you said earlier on, if it's provable, it's actually true. It's not an opinion. It's actually, something. What did you call it? Something critical. I
forgot the word.
Intelligent criticism or something.
Intelligent skeptic.
That's it. Intelligent skeptic.
Yeah.
So there's a point where like I'm over 50, right? So I've been playing around a long time, and I don't have a massive ego. Some people might say I do, but I don't care. But I am really, really overly sensitive that most people don't know about. Like, I can't take criticism very well at all. So we go and Adam sends this thing in the group chat, and I'm fucking so offended and spitting blood and everything, and I'm venting all over the place, and Adam's like not responding. And then
because I thought it was right.
Somebody else in the band's going, yeah, bastards, yeah, blah, blah. And then somebody else is like, I ain't taking this shit.
Yeah, it was between you, Andrew, and Nick.
Yeah. So
the three of you didn't like it. And
absolutely.
I was like, nah, I agree with everything they said.
Absolutely. So we waited, right? And I remember at band practice, like, it was super tense.
It was, yeah, because I was trying to explain why they were right.
But that was the first band practice where we set up, we played a couple of songs, and then you went, we need to talk.
Yeah, it was the first time where we actually went, let's have a band meeting.
Yeah, so we just...
Because we never did them.
We just did it. We just sort of played for 2 hours, solid,
for 2
and
hours.
then went home.
I'd write a set list, and there we go, that's what we're playing. But we never sort of... We wasn't really a band.
No.
We was people that played together.
Yeah.
But we didn't discuss any plans of what we wanted to do with it.
But that was, for me, that was like... I don't think I'd thought this shit through. You know, because I've always sort of wandered into bands, and I don't take an active part in how they're run.
Yeah.
You know, I just turn up, tell me what you play, I'll play it, and then I'll go home.
And yeah, none of us was doing that role, really. I think we'd already released an EP by then. The Black and Sky, it's one that we don't really talk about.
Yeah, we don't talk about that anymore.
Yeah, but it exists. Some people are going to go and find it now, because I've just mentioned it.
Please don't. I've robbed
many people. It's on iTunes anyway. It's not on our Spotify, because it got linked to someone else who's called Unresolved, not The Unresolved, and he's a DJ. So it's not on our Spotify, but it's on our iTunes.
I remember when we recorded
or
it.
Apple Music.
Because if you listen to it, it is kind of seriously demo quality. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not brilliant.
It's below demo quality. I think Moonbase, like Here to Stay,
yeah, that's
Snake Eyes
stuff.
But that's like high quality. As high quality as a demo can be.
Yeah,
is what you get from there.
The Black and Skies EP,
or what we got from there anyway, because
yeah.
we didn't master it really afterwards. You can still hear the hissing, and we kind of mixed it well. And
then there was a video.
But we'd released an EP by then, and that was sorted by Nick. We didn't talk about it. We just went and recorded it, and that was it. We threw it out, and he sorted that as well, because I had no idea what I was doing.
That was the thing, though. None of us knew what we were doing.
No, we just did it, and he kind of knew how to get it on Spotify and get it on iTunes and get it on Amazon.
Yeah.
I didn't know nothing.
And I remember, like I said, that first practice, it was tense, man.
It was, but that's sort of when things changed into being a band.
You challenged me, like, on 2 levels, right? So, one, you're just this snotty little fucking shit kid that come up to me that I give a break to, right? Yep. And I was fuming, right? And I can say this now because it's in the past. And I had to swallow my pride, and I had to just look you in the eye when everybody else had gone away. And we went over it again for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I remember you bring in and show me the video, and we sat down and we went through it. And you went, so now what do you think? And I went, shit, it's right, isn't it? You were like, yep.
As cocky as it is, yeah, I was. I still am.
No, but it was a turning point for the whole thing in the band, because it was like, are we going to do this? Are we going to write serious songs? Are we going to take what we do serious, or are we just going to play shit music and play 4 gigs a year?
Yeah, because that's what we had probably played about 4 gigs up
4
until that
gigs
point.
a year for
and
your
we'd
mates.
Been, well, quotation marks, a band for like nearly 2 years by that point.
Yeah.
And we hadn't done anything. That's why we had Best Band You Never Heard Of. Because we're just people that played together in a practice room, paying £5 a week.
Absolutely.
Well, £5 a week each to do nothing. And I wanted to do something.
And I totally get that now. Looking back on it, it's the best thing that ever happened.
Yeah.
But it started the ball rolling in a direction that is just not stopped.
And I think I owe all of that to being in Slack Alice. Because when I joined Slack Alice, there was a time where I wasn't playing drums until I played drums. I played in a couple of bands, and then I didn't for a year and a half.
Yeah,
I just had my electric kit at home, which I occasionally wiped the dust off and played it for about 5 minutes. I was like, nah. And then you invited me to join.
Because I was like,
Unresolved.
Just come along, let's just have a jam, see where it goes.
Yeah. We didn't have a name or anything. We just sort of went. But then when I joined Slack Alice, because I'd sort of retaught myself how to play drums, and even had to learn how to hit an acoustic drum hard enough, because I wasn't doing that for a long time. I had to relearn the whole thing, and because teaching yourself, you get bad habits. So playing in something like Slack Alice, which was so different, threw me completely, but it made me think more about songwriting and set list writing and where things should go and how it sounds to the ear.
So
And
one of the things I noticed when you were in Slack Alice, because you were in Slack Alice at the same time you were with us, so it was one of them things. I mean, I'd fucked off and started playing in a hillbilly band with my mate as well. So, we were just filling our time doing bits and bobs and being in more than one band, which some people in the band didn't like.
Yeah.
And thought you needed to show some sort of commitment one way or another. So, from what I gather, when you were doing that, you learned how to promote a band, and
yeah, it was more.
That's where all the graphic art stuff started
I was a lot
to come.
quieter back then. I can be quiet now. Like I say, most people don't really know much about me. But I was really quiet back then. I didn't speak in the Unresolved much because we didn't have band meetings, so there was nothing for me to talk about. Everyone was older, so it was a little bit intimidating sometimes. In Slack Alice, so I didn't really know them very well. I knew Joe, the bassist. But I kind of just sat and watched James Pillin, for anyone else who's interested in who. I sat because he's played in bands all the time. Like, he's been in so many different bands and fallen out with a lot of people because he's also, like us, opinionated.
He has words to say. And
he has words to
like
say. People don't like it sometimes. There's nothing wrong with that. He's very different how he was, or what you hear about him when he was in Thieving Gypsy Bastards and whatever. Yeah. But I watched him, and he just had this way of promoting things and saying something on Facebook to promote something, and people listening. And it was just this one thing that he did. We had a rehearsal, and it went pretty well. And we went to the Dyer's Arms afterwards and had a little chat. And it was the first practice in, and he talked about T-shirts, which was
we had nothing
foreign to me.
Yeah.
I was like, I've joined this band. We've got 6 weeks, I think it was, to have half an hour set list, and we was playing the Casbah with Phil Campbell from Motorhead, which was it's weird. So he was like, we've got a guaranteed gig that's going to have about 400 people there. We need T-shirts. We need to make people know who we are, because he was supposed to play it with Shotgun Susie, and they'd broken up for whatever reason, and he put Slack Alice together really quick, and we played that. But he had this idea of let's not pay for the T-shirts. Like, you got to get them printed, and then you got to sell them. Instead, he took pre-orders.
That's smart.
He was like, well, everyone's looking out for what I'm going to be doing next. I've managed to hold on to this really big gig, and I'll make a page. We'll make a logo and settle on this is the logo. We'll make some T-shirt designs, and straight away we'll stick that out. And he took pre-orders for it, and then them pre-orders paid to get them made. So we'd already sold them. And we didn't have to pay anything. It was just the way he came up with that made me think a lot more about marketing and how things should be put together. And then I looked at what we were doing in the Unresolved.
We were doing shit.
None of it. And there was a point where Slack Alice was doing a lot better and getting loads of gigs. That was the most gigs I've ever played in a year, was when I joined that band. And we were doing nothing. And there was a point where I felt like leaving.
Yeah.
And just calling it.
Completely.
Yeah. I even, at one point, I don't think I've ever even told you that, at one point I marked down a date. That was my last gig.
Did you?
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
And that gig was the gig we played here with Motor Headache just after that Metal to the Masses one.
That was a good gig, actually.
The one after the Metal to the Masses one.
The one where I pulled my head out my arse and actually listened to what you were saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We played the Metal to the Masses one, and I already had it in my head then that one, which also happened to be the day that we released our second EP on disc, the first time we ever sold any.
Yeah.
And I was going to leave after that. That was going to be it.
Strange old world.
And that day I think we got 3 people approach to do other gigs.
Yeah, that's when people started to come up and go, well, we like what you're doing.
I want to play these gigs.
Interesting fact. I'm just going to throw them in because I've been around so long that I know people. So my friend Andy Rothwell, so Andy was in the Gutter Cats. Yep. Andy is the Gutter Cats. So I, years and years and years ago, when I was doing rockabilly and then I left and started doing like rock and stuff, I hooked up with Andy and a couple of other people. There's a guy called Steve on drums and a guy called Adrian, who now lives in Switzerland or something, on bass. And Andy was a singer, and Ian Cummins, we were going to put something together because they'd done like Friday's Angels. Andy was in Friday's Angels, and we started putting stuff together, but obviously life got in the way because I had kids back then, so I couldn't continue with it. But then, like, I find out years later by reconnecting with people that James Pilling was in the Gutter Cats.
He was, yeah.
So James is connected to Andy, and I was connected to Andy, and it's all like really weird. Like I said, like Sam Smith, who was in the Scarbilly Rebels and is now in the Voodoo Kings. I was in band with him. The original drummer in Lost the Plot, John Hewitt. He was the original drummer in King back in the day. You know, Love and Pride. That's him. And you know, it's just there's been some great things come out of Coventry, but let's just talk about an opinion that people have. So I've heard you say Coventry Music Scene's dead. Right?
I've brought up the opinion before.
Yeah.
I haven't explained when people say it, because I've heard people say it for years.
So say it to me as if you were like meeting somebody that you didn't know that played in a band, right? So I'm in a band. You come in here. There's 5 people and a dog, right? And there's me and my band and my ego. And you're meeting me as Adam running the Arches.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, that was great, man. That was a really good gig. And then you go, yeah, but the Coventry Music Scene.
Well, nah, I don't bring it up like that. I don't go, oh, yeah, it was a great gig, but no, music scene's, no, I don't do that.
Okay.
My opinion isn't, like, the music scene is dead.
No, I'm offended. Hang on a minute, let me get offended.
I'm trying to find
Are you
words.
suggesting that I'm talentless piece of shit? Is that what you're suggesting?
That's what people think.
That I've been playing for 30 odd years and I can't hold a fucking note. You know what I mean?
No, see, that's what people think. There's a lot of people that do say Coventry Music Scene is dead, and that is what they mean.
Nah, that's not true.
The exact statement, that's what they mean when they say it. I don't think that there's no talent in Coventry. I think there's loads of it. There's more than most places. And the history of...
And the history of Coventry Music Scene is fucking vast.
It's definitely not a dead music scene in that sense.
It's like, I don't understand why the Beatles came from Birmingham. They should have came from fucking Coventry. And, you know, just down the road in Birmingham. No, think about it. Just down the road in Birmingham, you've got, like, all the heavy metal bands that came out. Fucking Sabbath came out from Birmingham. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Judas Priest. You've got all these great bands from the Midlands. And then Coventry... I love Coventry, always have done. But, you know, it came out and we had a different type of music. We had, like, the ska music came in, the two-tone music. Yeah. So, you know, there's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, you can kind of put Napalm Death on Coventry.
Oh, yes.
They was formed in Meriden, just up the road.
Bolt Thrower. So Alan West I was talking about earlier on. So he was the original singer with Bolt Thrower. And I used to hang around with Baz from Bolt Thrower because, like, all the punks and all the rockabillys used to hang around together. So yeah, I know Bolt Thrower from back then. I know members of them, and like you say, there was lots of bands. There's a lot of punk bands in Coventry. There was like what was it? Annex UK, Gary Swain, Annex UK, that is, and then there was a band called The Filth. They were pretty good. Criminal Class, they were a Coventry band, I believe. So there's been, like, it's kind of got a rich history, really.
Yeah, it's massive. So going back to music scene dead, I've heard loads of people say it, and that is flat out what they mean. They mean there's no music in Coventry. When you ask them to explain it, what they usually go to the venues, as in how many venues are there compared to what there were, because there was a lot more places to play than there are now. Now you've got the Empire, you've got Casbah, you've got the Tin, you've got the Arches. Occasionally you've got the Campbell. The way I see music scene being dead isn't anything to do with talent or how many venues there are. It's mainly down to who supports what and the promotion. Yeah, I've too often been in the Arches at a gig that has got great bands on it with about 6 people in the room.
Yeah, so it goes back to that thing, like organised events that are competitions, like Metal to the Masses, really fucking pull a crowd
every time. Yeah. Every time.
And when there's like a charity all dayer, that normally pulls people in all day, right?
Yeah, it depends. I've seen empty all dayers. I'm not a fan of all dayers simply because I don't think anyone is going to stand in a local music venue all day and watch bands. If they was in a field like Download, that's always going to happen because they're camping. Yeah. And they want a weekend of music once a year. Yeah. Or maybe twice if they go to Bloodstock, or a couple of times. But no one's going to go to a venue and do that. I've never seen a packed room for an all-day event. I'm not knocking, don't do all-day events. It's just I have never seen it. Usually, if someone comes, you might get 5, 6 people that are actually there all day, and the crowd might come about 6 o'clock.
But it's kind of good when, like when Baz and Ian do the Centre Coventry. That's kind of good.
Yeah.
Now we've done that a couple of times.
Yeah.
So
Loads
you get a tent, you pitch up, you stay overnight, and you can have a beverage and just carry on. And people do, and I think like the guys that ride the bikes, they're really good at supporting stuff around here, and they're the ones. They do a lot of the stuff for the charities, so that's probably what I meant by that one.
A lot of the bands that they seem to book as well, they're the bands that get overlooked a lot in Coventry. They don't get gigs in every venue in Coventry. They are very reliant on the Arches, actually, a lot of them. That's not knocking them, and that's not knocking any other venues or anything like that. It's just when the Arches closed the first time before the whole COVID situation and management changed, there was a lot of bands that just disappeared.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean about Dead Music Scene, is more the promotion side of it. Self-promotion and support is virtually non-existent to what it used to be. Everybody backed themselves and each other. It seemed like everyone knew each other when older people talk about the old music scene.
So if you were playing the gig, you'd stay.
Yeah, exactly.
You wouldn't piss off halfway through.
And there was a lot more people that just didn't know who was playing but went anyway.
Absolutely.
Whereas
you go
now,
down Hand and Heart in Gosford Street, there'd be a band on, you pay your quid, you get in, you go and watch a band. You watch three bands.
People just knew, okay, it's Friday night, gig night, let's go see who's on. And they discover a band every week. Whereas now, nobody really comes like here. I don't usually see people here unless they know who's playing.
Would you say there's a general apathy, like people just would rather stay at home with cheaper beer?
Maybe.
If
I don't know.
If people are talking about economics, then that's just bullshit. Yeah, it is cheaper to stay at home and get pissed, but do you know what? I live on my own. It's not always that much fun. But if the whole thing about going out and just watching bands and watching music, playing in a band for me and going watching bands is always good. One, because it's a night out to just forget that you're in a band, but be part of music. Like when we go out and we support bands that have supported us, don't we? So if Yellow King's playing, we'll go and see them. Boss Madra are playing, we'll go and see them. James is playing, we'll pop down and see him. And they're equally as good. If we're playing and they're doing nothing, they bob along.
Yeah. But we are still guilty of what I'm saying, where no one goes to bands that they don't know they're on. They don't turn up like knowing there's a gig on. Don't know who it is. I'm just going to go and discover something and enjoy myself.
It's Friday night. There's nothing on. Should we just go and see?
Yeah. We'll go and see like Yellow King if they're playing, but we know they're playing. We're not going to just turn up at the Arches or the Campbell because we know there's going to be a gig on that night and find out who it is when we get there. There's no everybody seems to say support local music now,
but nobody's doing it.
That's
to a degree.
To a degree, right. I never hear that phrase getting tossed around when older generation talk about their past and talk about what the venues were like and what everything was like back then. I never hear the phrase support your local music.
No, because
now it's everywhere and it shouldn't be needed.
It shouldn't be. It's
that phrase. Like I know we're in a COVID world, so it's needed now because everywhere's closed and businesses can go under. But beforehand, that phrase shouldn't exist.
From my point of view, it's like Captain Tom walking around his garden to raise £30 million for the NHS. He shouldn't have to do that. We should be paying the fucking NHS. We shouldn't be clapping some old soldier out of 100. Yeah, people should be. The government should be doing that already, and we should hold them responsible. Yeah, there's an opinion.
And there's no knocking on Tom.
Absolutely,
at all.
No.
What he did was
fabulous.
But he shouldn't have had to.
He shouldn't have had to do it. You shouldn't have to walk around with a T-shirt saying support local music.
Yeah.
People should just be doing it.
Yeah, I and a lot of people have a T-shirt, green, red, like audio-looking thing that says "Save our venues." That shouldn't exist.
No. So
it should exist for the reason of the COVID reason. That's why it was there. But save our venue has been around for like 6 years.
Yeah, I totally
Music Venue Trust has not just suddenly turned up when COVID has. It's been around for a long time.
So like I said, if we go back like, I don't know, 20 odd years plus, you could literally go into Friday night, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, you could walk down Gosford Street and go into 3 or 4 different pubs that had bands on.
Yeah, it was one big pub crawl.
Yeah.
And bands everywhere.
And it was cheap. It wasn't expensive on the door. And I don't think it's about like finance. Because you can support local music by sitting at home during this time and buy artists' music. But there's a whole generation and I'm going to point at you because it's your generation.
It's my generation.
It's your generation and the generation coming that have never bought a fucking record in their life. They've stolen music. Do you know what I mean? It's like, can you just burn me a copy of Slipknot's new album? No, fuck off, buy it. Do you know what I mean? If you're a fan, buy it. Do you know, I've got old vinyls and tapes that I bought when I was a kid, and most people my age still have. And I like having physical copies of stuff. Do you know what I mean? I like, because somebody went and they did the artwork, which I like to look at. You know, there's nothing better than an album sleeve. Pulling it out with the inner sleeve's got some artwork on it, or a CD with the booklet. I like that kind of stuff.
One thing I'd like to put out as well is me saying music scene's dead and the promotion isn't there and the support, people don't support each other, isn't me bashing any individuals that are listening, because we're all guilty of it.
Absolutely.
Me included, even though I'm now booking some of the bands, I'm still guilty of it.
The thing is, it's like we said right at the beginning.
We don't support each other.
Yeah, but it's like we said right at the beginning. We're going to say some opinions, and people are just going to go, they're moaning at me.
The fact you can't deny that
Absolutely.
It's not true. It is. It's been true for a long time. Fair enough if you get a full room for a competition, but the amount of people that's the first time I'll see them that year and the last, and I'll see them at the next competition.
Yeah.
When Matt with the Masters comes back next year, that's when I'll see them again.
But they won't support them bands.
No, that's what I mean. It's
you won't get that full room the following week for some band that nobody's heard of.
Like, maybe it's a competition and bands are taking it seriously, so they bring more people. Whether they only come because they know, it's metal to the masses, metal bands. Ding, that's professional. It's metal bands, so they come. But there are metal gigs booked throughout the year. Other than that,
there's quite a lot of good metal bands in Coventry.
It's a lot of picking and choosing, is the way I see it, from a lot of people, and all of them people all preach support local music scene, support your local venue. So why don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know what I've just thought about? Do you remember? Because we played, we opened for Cradle of Filth, Godiva Festival.
Yeah, Godiva Festival,
right? So then some people are like, oh yeah, Godiva Festival, biggest free music venue, and that's brilliant.
Yeah.
What happened when they started charging for it?
Everyone complained online.
Yeah, and they didn't showcase as much local talent.
How much was it? £2?
£2, nothing.
£2 for a festival.
Do you know what I mean?
I saw people complaining at £2 for Godiva Festival that went to Download went to Bloodstock. Went to both that year.
We go to Download regularly, all right? And we'll go to Sonosphere, Bloodstock, whatever. No, the average weekend ticket is like £300-400 or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you've got money enough, and it's not about the finance, it's about the situation. You can't compare a festival against another festival and go, this one's better than that one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're into metal, fine, you can go, I like Bloodstock. That's okay, but a festival is just a chance to get around.
It's a festival.
Enjoy music, enjoy beer, and maybe an ostrich burger or some sort of veganuary thing.
Yeah, and it's the thing is, I'm pretty sure it was like the year we played or the year before that I said in a couple of years.
You said
Godiva Festival's going to start charging.
Yeah, you said it the year we played. I remember.
Yeah,
because we were sitting around the back.
And I think it was Nick that, it might have been Andrew, one of them didn't understand why I meant it, and I was like, look at who's playing. We're opening for Cradle of Filth.
Yeah.
Like, they're a pretty iconic metal band. Like, a lot of people were going to come that day. Like, the size of the tent that year compared to the following year, it was less than half the size.
I really enjoyed that day, and the bit that made me laugh the most, right? Talk about like double standards. Do you remember they told us we couldn't swear? So in all the competitions, you're not allowed to swear. You can't swear to the audience
because family festival.
It's a family festival. So old Danny Filth comes out and sings his favourite song, which is called what?
No, yeah, we know that.
Jesus is and you fill in the blank, right? But we've seen him backstage, right? And I'm going to tell this story to embarrass Andrew, just because I want to. So Andrew's there in his Cradle of Filth t-shirt because he's a massive fan.
Yeah.
And he's a huge fan. And he keeps telling us, right? So we're in this tent out the back, and Danny Filth is just standing there waiting for someone to come up and speak to him, right? And I'm like, Andrew, why don't you give me your phone and I'll take a picture of you and you know, your hero together. And he was like, oh no, I'm too shy. So do you remember? For no reason, I didn't even want a piss, but I remember I walked right past Danny Filth. I'm like, all right, and then went and had a piss, and then come back and went, all right. Now, at that point, I could have whipped out my phone or said, do you mind coming over to the band and having a big, you know? And I'm sure he was nice enough. He seemed like a nice bloke. And I'm sure he would have done that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I remember you were talking to the drummer, and I was hanging out back with the guitar player and going through his guitars and having a chat with him as well. So they were really approachable people, and I just thought it was a real shame that poor old Andrew, you know, didn't
open him for one of his favourite bands ever.
So the last gig me and you went to was Zach Sabbath, right?
It was, yeah.
So what did I do at Zach Sabbath
You
gig?
grabbed Zach Foiled.
I went and harassed him, yeah. And
when he went up on the balcony.
Up on the balcony, and there's video of me fucking pushing security guards out the way just so I can stand in front of him, hands on his shoulders and scream, Zach, I love you. So yeah, be careful what you drink, people.
But yeah, going back to charging for Godiva, I said, look who's playing. We've got Cradle of Filth on stage. Was that the Year the Darkness headlined that we played?
I think it was the Year the Darkness headline.
So the Darkness are headlining on main stage.
On main stage, yeah.
The Sunday afternoon they had Professor Green, who's like
yeah,
mainstream
right. Yeah.
in the rap, or well, he's pop star really, isn't he? Because he's on like proper popular songs. He's gone sort of down a bit. Well, he's not as mainstream now, but he's a known artist.
He was right at the pinnacle of his career at that point.
Yeah,
he was all over the telly programs.
Yeah, I was like, do you expect like the council to continue a free festival with the names that they're pulling now?
What was it? The year before we were watching the Stranglers.
Yeah. So it's like the names that are coming here now. It can't be free forever. These artists have to be paid.
I remember a couple of years before
They're
that.
big names. They're not going to do it for free.
Who came a couple of years before that, and he was what's his name? Fun Loving Criminals. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I really enjoy. Most people don't know Huey's an amazing guitar player, so I was there just really happy just to watch him play. It was really good. But yeah, you can't run a festival like that and then just expect it to be free forever. And a token gesture of a couple of quid, it's nothing.
No, which is what the gigs are for most local grassroots music venues as well.
And that's the thing, isn't it? A local gig, it's like people come to the door and they go, is there a gig? And you go, yeah. And they go, how much? 4 quid? 6 quid? Oh, no, that's too expensive. What, to see 4 bands?
Yeah.
To see 3 bands? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I don't get. It's not that the music scene's dead. The music scene is here. Right now it's closed, but in a non-COVID world, that's what kills the music scene. Yeah. That's why it's so different. Like, bringing it on to Coventry Music Scene, to UK Music Scene. The difference we've had in everywhere we've played.
Yeah, I was going to say about
how big the scene is and how conjoined it is, because all the bands come from different areas, but everyone knows each other.
So Wales is a really amazing place to play, right?
Yeah.
So
the last gig we played.
I don't know whether you were going in that direction.
Kind of. I was more going to lean towards the gig we played at the station in Cannock.
Oh, that's an amazing place as well, and it's really well supported. Now, I couldn't believe when we played there. I mean, I know we were doing Revival.
Yeah, we did the Rising tour with Scarlet Rebels and Revival Black.
Rebels and Revival Black. Yeah. So we played on that tour twice. That was the second time, was it?
No, we only did the.
Was it just that one?
Yeah, the first one.
It's because we played with one of the support acts on there at the Gifford. When we played with
yeah, Bad Dog. We played with Ginani in the November, and then yeah, we did.
So they were on that as well, weren't they?
Yeah.
So I remember everybody these bands. They're up and coming bands, and they're doing really, really well. And they were really nice guys, and they come and hung out, and they were having a chat. I remember the guy was chatting about his mic stand to Tom, who was getting on like a house on fire. And when we came on and we played, the thing that I noticed was all the people at the back of the room literally took 20 paces forward and were leaning on the rail. Do you remember? They got one of the big rails at the front. Yeah. And the whole place was just really, and just because it's a good music venue, I think, because there was lots of people kind of my age there. Do you know what I mean? I was quite shocked because when you said, we're on this tour and we're going to be with this band and this band, I thought, well, everybody's going to be 20-somethings, because their singer's pretty. But there weren't.
No, there's a lot more older generation people there.
When we played, there was like great big bearded, hairy guys at the front, headbanging next to me and and their partners or whatever. And I just felt really comfortable.
Yeah, see, I follow massively the UK rock scene rather than Coventry, because the Coventry scene is just disbanded from the rest of the UK. It seems there's not many bands in Coventry currently that are doing a lot outside of Coventry.
No.
Maybe if I would name a band that do a lot outside of Coventry, I'd name Lunicus.
Yes.
Who, fun fact, when we got into some big publications through playing with Threaten, we wasn't the only Coventry band that played with him.
Really?
A massive news article like that, a news story that everyone did videos about, like Jared Dines. Have you ever watched his YouTube videos?
Yeah.
That's over in America. He did videos about it, but we played with him. So did Lunicus. They played his Newcastle show. So Coventry was all over that.
Yeah, so it goes back to our phrase, the best band you've never heard of.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the best solo artist nobody's ever fucking seen.
Where is he now?
Yeah. Cooking up his next
But
story.
there's another thing for Coventry is we was involved in that heavily because 2 Coventry bands happened to say yes to playing with this guy who made a major news story from it.
So I remember I remember that gig we played it because it was in Birmingham, and I can't remember the name of the place, but it was in Birmingham, and we had like loads of little people come and follow us because, you know, we know people in Coventry, and some people in Birmingham came, and you know, and it was really funny because when we left, because I had to get up for work in the morning, and we were really pissed off at the whole thing. We left, and the place was empty because everybody went home.
Yeah.
And even the woman on the sound desk, she was like really pissed off with the whole day.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. I was going to talk about the last gig
at the Patriot.
The Patriot. So yeah, so we're booked in. So this is another time I nearly fell out with you, right? Because you booked this gig down in Wales.
And even I didn't want to go that far.
Yeah. So Adam's booked this gig, and he's got, we're going and play this gig at a place called the Patriot. And I'm like, what the fuck's that? And he's like, yeah, it's some venue. One, it doesn't show up on normal sat nav. So I'm driving and then walking and then phoning the guys and going, I'm lost, where are you all? Then we get there, and it looks like an old social club from like 1982 with a flat roof. And I'm like, And then Angela, is it Angela that owns it? Yeah. So she opens the door and lets us in, and we take all our stuff in, and we're looking around the room, and it's like, actually, inside is a really interesting building. It's got some interesting objets d'art. So, you know, bits of motorbike, bits of whatever, hanging all over the place. And then we realise the reason it's called the Patriot is because it's actually a motorbike club. But they're all ex-servicemen, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure they actually are called the Patriots, though.
Are they not?
I don't think so.
Is the pub called the Patriot?
The
but
pub's
they're
called the Patriot.
something else, aren't they?
Yeah, I can't remember what it was.
So it's like, I remember them. I remember
the
all the
Valley
guys.
Or something.
Yeah, I remember all the guys turning up because they got like these patches on their backs with these pistons and the name underneath.
And the Valley Commandos or something.
Yeah, but they'd
something
all,
like that.
Their connection was they'd all been in the military.
Yeah, they're all ex-servicemen.
Yeah. So this place starts filling up, and you know, Welsh girls, boys, whatever, and then these guys like with their vests on and stuff, and they were some of the nicest people we'd ever met.
Yeah.
So we were going for a half an hour gig, which I was like, oh, I don't want to play half an hour in Wales and then for shit. So I got my rock star head on. No, I hate driving really, but I remember the guy who was running it. He came up to us, and who was on Thea and Verity White. Yeah. So the guy that was running it comes up to you, because you're his point of contact, and says something to you, and then you come over to me and you go, guy wants us to play for about an hour and a bit. Is that all right? And I went, I'm here now. I'm into it.
Well, it was 45 minutes.
Was it 40?
It was only
45 minutes?
He only added 15 minutes.
It just felt like forever because it was such a good gig.
Yeah.
So Tom's really happy because they got Motorhead Road Crew on tap.
Yep.
So he comes back with this great big beer stein with Motorhead on, and he goes, do you want one? And I went, yeah, go for it. So he gets me one of them. We've done sound check, and all the other bands are like really, really nice people. And I think it's Alex is the guy's name, Alex White, Verity's husband or whatever.
Yeah.
He was like, wow, I really like your guitar, I really like your sound. And he was a really nice bloke to talk to, right? So I'm not as nervous as I normally am at that point because the people in the bands are nice, and I don't feel like scared because that I've got like the most severe stage fright ever. And then we played, and we decided to play 2 covers that we weren't going to play.
We wasn't going to play any covers.
We weren't going to play any covers. We were just going to play our own shit, right? So one of the covers is War Pigs, which we all love playing because it's 8 minutes, fucking 20 seconds of fun. And the other one, we'd not been doing it long. I don't think we'd even played it live, had we? No, we had. We played it live once when we played with Yellow King. Out in the fields.
Have we only played that once at that point?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I was crapping it because the solo's really hard.
Yeah.
So
it was pretty nervous.
Yeah, I was a bit nervous because, yeah. So these 2 great big iconic songs about war and military stuff. We played War Pigs. The place went fucking mental.
I don't think... I think Tom probably sung the first line of each verse.
And everybody else
and
just joined in.
Then he just stopped.
Absolutely.
And we let them do it.
Tom got full on rock star. Yeah.
It was probably one of the best gigs we've done.
Yeah, and it was one of the beautiful venues. You know what I mean? They had guitar hooks on the wall for your guitar. They had flip switches at the front with covers on. The stage is beautiful. It's really well thought out and put together. And you're not allowed to take a drink on stage unless it's in like these
baby bottles.
Baby bottles. So going back to me and Tom having a beverage, right? So we pretty much drank most of it. And the bar staff go, oh, you can't take that on stage, give it here. So they pour it into this plastic container with a clip lid that you can open. But they filled them up, and they didn't charge us, which is like, okay. So, yeah, me and Tom bouncing around with the baby beers. Yeah, I remember that.
That's what we called on, the baby. We even put a picture on social media of it.
So any venue, anywhere, you need to get these bottles because it'll keep your stage safe and clean. And if anybody knocks a drink over, it's not going to make a fucking mess.
And it just looks funny, doesn't it? Because them bottles are what everyone takes to the gym, aren't they?
Yeah, that's what it is, with the little clip lids
they're
on
made with healthy living in mind.
Yeah.
And you've got beer in it.
We should get some printed off with our logo on, and then we can take them just for us.
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to do that.
I don't think it'd be that expensive to do.
No, you know me. I like my logo on shit.
Yeah, you've got the engraved glass at home, haven't you?
Absolutely.
With the triangle.
Absolutely. See, that was a marketing ploy as well. So I remember, like, we'd come up with some ideas for how the name should look, and then you'd done some work on that. And then you kind of went away. You got really confident about stuff, and you came back and you went, by the way, this is our new logo.
Yeah.
These are the T-shirts. Boom.
Yeah, I just kind of started making things. I started getting fairly good at the graphic design stuff. And maybe because I was using a free software, which for some reason is called GIMP.
Nice.
Brilliant name for photo editing or graphic design. I didn't want to pay for Photoshop. And then I found out how to rob it from the internet.
See, your generation don't
I
pay
did.
for fuck all.
Yeah, I'll pay for it now. I'll pay for it now. But yeah, at the time, I was like, I robbed it. I just got a free version of CS6 and used that. And I started getting all right at it. And just went, here, this is the logo now. There you go. Didn't leave any options or opinions. Just, here it is.
So a couple of
kind of went with it.
Yeah, and that kind of works. And so you then became like our marketing manager, our gig manager, So we started to have like regular chats in the band, and like when we practice now, we'll practice for like 40 minutes, then just take a break for 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about, and I suppose from that point of view, that's where everyone can air everything, because being in a band's a bit like being married. Yeah. After a while, the person you adore, you fucking despise.
Yeah.
So, So most people know that we've had quite a few changes since we very first started.
Yeah.
So we originally started, we had a guitar player called James, and I was the original singer and played rhythm guitar. James decided that we'd played like 2 gigs, and James decided that it was all a little bit too serious for him.
Yeah, we hadn't spoke for like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
we hadn't practiced, and we hadn't spoke for 2 weeks. We had a WhatsApp group back then. We didn't have a Facebook group chat. I don't think we had a Facebook page either by that point. Or no, we did M5N.
Yeah,
we used that instead.
We
hadn't got a proper name.
Yeah, so we cannibalised an old name that we used to use when I had the house band.
We'd got the name, so it was the Unresolved.
Oh,
but we didn't have a Facebook group chat. We just had WhatsApp because we'd already released Black and Skies, because James is on that.
James is on that, yeah.
And I don't know what it was. For some reason, some thought popped into my head, and it was something to do with royalties. And I asked whether or not we had published. I think it was registered the song on PRS or something like that.
That was it.
And
So if we sell any, do we get any pennies?
yeah, I was just trying to work out how it worked because I didn't know, and I was at that sort of point where I was trying to learn as much as I could. And I asked the question because it was something that we was doing in Slack Alice. That's what it was. And I asked if we had done it because it seemed important at the time. It probably wasn't at all. But 5 minutes later, there's a big paragraph from James about how serious.
Trigger,
Yeah.
And
It's like I said that, and I think he just saw a couple of things that I wasn't talking massively serious, but they are legal terms.
Yeah.
Like royalties and licensing and stuff like that. And he just went off and left.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah,
he just got a bit too much, yeah.
Yeah, he wrote his big paragraph about why he couldn't do this anymore and he didn't want any animosity, and that was great. I enjoyed playing with James. He's a really good guitar player. I don't think he'd been in a band that actually played a gig up until that point, so it's possible that the first time we kind of put him in front of an audience.
Some people don't like it.
No,
Some
it's
people
not for
like
everybody.
to play at home. They like to be able to play the instrument, but don't play with people. Some people just record at home and never release it.
Oh, I actually enjoy spending a whole day crapping my pants about playing a gig and then feeling sick all day, not being able to eat, and then getting to the gig and hiding that from everybody, and then playing the gig and then coming off and hiding again. So, do you remember when we played? Where was that place? Is it called what's it called? The Shed?
Down the Shed, yeah.
In Leicester?
And it's rugby.
No, the one with
Leicester.
yeah, we played with Mortalica.
Oh, the musician.
That's it, the musician. The day it fucking snowed.
It was slashing down with snow.
It snowed, and we didn't think anybody had turned up, and the place was packed.
Heaving.
Like
I think
one of
it
the
was
best gigs we'd ever played.
To that point, I think it was probably the most full venue we played to.
Yeah, so here's a funny story that happened then, right? Not funny for me. So we're there. I've got my gear on stage. They've done their sound check. We get in. We do our sound check. Then I put on the hat, let the hair down, all that kind of stuff. I learnt very early on when I was playing is don't look at anybody ever, right? So I'm okay looking at the band, but I look at the back of the room, literally look like boom and point at the back of the room, or stare into the lights because they'll just blind you.
Yeah.
If the venue's got lights, stare into the lights. It looks cool. So, and they had a raised stage, and it's bigger than this one in the Arches, if I remember correctly. It was about another half a foot bigger. And I was playing in my usual spot on the right-hand side of the stage. And I'm playing away, and I'm about 1.5 songs in. And all of a sudden, I look towards my hands and to my right. And lock eyes with a person, another human being. They saw me, and I saw them. And I was mesmerised and terrified like a fucking rabbit in the headlights. Because I don't look at people. So then I carry on, and I play the gig, but I'm like, so conscious of everything that I'm doing. I thought I made a million mistakes. I thought it was the worst gig I ever played. Apparently not. And I remember coming off, and then I packed everything up, and it was like sardines in there. It really was. And I remember going up to you and going, I've got to get out of here. And you were like, yeah, okay. I was like, right, I'm going. I literally just didn't stay. I think I saw them play. I saw Mortalica play maybe one song, and then like got my Marshall stack and on its wheels and just pushed it out and then threw it all in the car and drove home. And then I had to I didn't have to, but I remember you and Nick, you were like, so what was that all about?
Yeah.
I was like, I've got stage fright. I was like, what?
Yeah, we knew nothing about it.
I was like, yeah, I really suffer badly from stage fright, always have done, still do. So I'm okay bouncing around in a room with my guitar playing in a band with, like in a practice room or in a venue with nobody in. And I'm okay in the venue once I've wound myself into it. So it's that moment like you step on, you plug your guitar in, and then it's like, boom, go. I'm okay with that. It's the bit before and the bit after. So and the bit before, it's very rarely. Sometimes I eat, sometimes I don't eat. Sometimes I get all weird and go, I'm going to go and sit in my car for half an hour.
So is it then weird for you to see me every single gig with my bowl of pasta? Is that weird for you?
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me at all.
No.
Paul Sanders asked the question, do I get nervous? Which every musician gets asked it. And I think I explained it completely different to other people, because it sounds arrogant to say no, but not really. There's been a few where I have. So Phil Campbell, full room,
Yeah.
big gig. There's reviewers here and stuff like that. It's shit, because it was our first gig, and it was his
19th billion.
Yeah, exactly. Like, played in Motorhead for 25 years or something.
Yeah.
And now he's got this new band that's going to skyrocket. So yeah, that one was maybe for about 10 minutes at Godiva, but I was more comfortable at Godiva because I was kind of just giggling to how nervous Andrew was. Which, sorry, Andrew, but
yeah.
He was fairly nervous,
He was.
I think he was nervous for me because I didn't have to worry as much. I don't think. I'm at the back of the room anyway. I don't usually see people.
See, the thing is, like,
I don't get that nervous.
When you get all the photographers and some of the places we play, and they take all the photographs and send them to us and stuff, like, I get some really good shots, and but most people don't take that many shots of you, and I'm always like, why is that? Is it because
it's not just me? It's just the
drummers in general?
Yeah, it's here you get pretty good drum shots because you've got the side of the stage, you can get to it, and you can get a good drummer shot. But things like festivals, where they're all down in the pit, in between the space of the barrier and the stage, you can't see the drummer anyway from down there. So.
I know there aren't that many good shots of you from Godiva.
No, there's one really good one.
Yeah. So
but
it is one of those things. People,
I don't mind. I'm not someone that wants loads of credit for everything I do. I want to do it. I don't like it when people get credit for something I did that they didn't do. That's when I get an ego.
That happens a lot.
Yeah, someone gets credit for something that I did, and I don't like that. But if I do something and people enjoy it, but I don't ever get credit, I'm fine with that. I don't care. At least they liked it, stuff, whatever. But I don't need to be seen drumming. Everyone knows I play drums.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
I can't see them watching me play drums because there's lights on my face.
I think from my point of view, the past year and a bit has been like from the moment Metal to the Masses came out, we did that, and then I got over myself. We just charged along, and I know me and you have made decisions that other people are like, well, why did you do that? And we're like, because this needs to happen in this order, and we're not going to change.
We just have a way of doing things.
Yeah,
we're never going to be this massive band.
So but like we made. I remember we can talk about it now because he's not here. We made.
He's not here to defend himself.
Well, I'm not gonna slag anybody off. I'm just gonna say what happened. So I remember, like, we were due to have before COVID kicked in. Last year we had shitloads of gigs, seriously shitloads of gigs, and like there was those two in Wales, so it was an overnight stay.
Yeah, we was going to go to Wales and then Bridgewater,
so which is overnight, and
South Wales and then outside of Wales,
and then come back. So we'd booked all this up, and you'd done your usual. Give me any dates that you can't do.
Yeah,
which you send out in the group chat,
and
then people are like, "No, I can do this. No, I can do that." Yeah, and then you just went ahead and booked it.
Well, yeah, it's like, give me anything you can't do. I'll book some things. I'll send them to you to confirm them. And tell me if you can't do them, we'll get them changed.
So I remember you did that, and you sent it, and everybody was like, yeah, we can do it.
Yeah, we got them all booked. And I was told when I got sent them, if there's any changes, let me know, like, within sort of 2 days kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we'll confirm it. And
so then there was the fateful moment that our old bass player Nick says, well, I told you I can't do that.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to dispute whether he said he didn't or he said he did, but, you know, the thing was, I said, okay, then not a problem. And I think that's when I said the thing that maybe lots of people in lots of bands would not like to hear.
No, and it's no one would like to hear it.
But
and
it was one of them.
Everyone's going to dispute it. But.
Yeah, so we booked the gig, and then I said, okay, we'll get somebody else to play bass on that one. And that was a little tense moment, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and it was probably the way you said it as well. And maybe the fact that I think there was a discussion not long before that where Tom made that as a joke.
Oh, is that where it was?
Yeah, I think Tom said some sort of joke about a gig that we already knew we couldn't do, so we weren't going to do it. And Tom made some joke about getting some other bass player to do it.
Well,
And he obviously meant it as a joke, but it was typed, so
right.
anything that's typed,
Anything,
you don't know the tone of voice, you don't know if they're
Absolutely.
joking or not. You read it how you read it.
But my rationale has always been, if we got to play, I don't know, some 10 download or whatever, and I can't make it, then we draft somebody in to do
Who can.
whatever I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've stated that since we took things seriously.
Yeah, it's the band, not the individual.
Absolutely, it's no individual.
Yeah.
It's bigger than the band.
Yeah, because you'll come back after.
Yeah.
And there'll probably be more better gigs offered to us because we played that one.
Absolutely.
And then, well, I won't play this download one, but I can play this one. So
absolutely. So
yeah, it's the band. It's not...
I know that caused a lot of tension, but I stand by what I said. And then that's, if anybody is interested, that's why we had a change of lineup.
Yeah, there was a lot of sort of arguing about it that wasn't really necessary.
No.
And it was all he said this, she said that.
But I stand by what I said. I literally said, we'll get somebody in for that day. Doesn't mean you're being replaced.
It started to become a lot of picking and choosing what gig I can and can't do, or I'm not going to play that gig even though I can, which was the way I saw it, just because, like, me being me, I did go and scroll to see if he did say I can't do that day.
Oh, I know what you're like.
it. Yeah, I'm like that.
I know. If you're one of those people, you're like, I don't delete anything you ever fucking send me.
It's
ever.
Facebook Messenger.
Absolutely.
It stays there.
And scroll back.
Yeah, you scroll. But it's coming back to being opinionated. It's like, if it's falsifiable, then by science, I can prove that is wrong. Yeah. So that means this is right. And totally I can prove you didn't say it. So how was I to know? And then I, in my own head, was like, well, you didn't say it. And even though we never did the gig anyway because COVID, on that particular day, you could see that he wasn't doing what he said he was doing that day.
No.
Thank you, Facebook, again. but
I think I think that was another one of those fluke moments that came along because we then made a decision based on that one could have been unpopular, two probably is unpopular, and three, it's mine and your decisions because and
it doesn't matter whether it's you and me talking about it or Nick making his own podcast and talking about it. Both sides are going to sound bitter when we talk about it.
Yeah,
because it was never a nice situation.
No,
it was more of a falling out.
And that was the thing. A year previously, we'd had a similar situation.
Yeah,
you know. So anybody who's ever been in a band knows that it kind of is mates getting together to the point where you annoy each other, to the point where you don't want to be mates anymore.
Yeah.
So you know, and I know, like previously, like Andrew came in, Andrew did what was needed at the time for us to move forward, and then that had to change.
Yeah. And obviously there was tension for a while there with me and Andrew being such good mates at the time.
Yeah.
And we didn't hang out as much for a long time. I'm pretty sure there was a new name for us, The Undeserved, instead. Which was, I thought that was quite amusing.
Is that because we deserve better?
I don't know. It's a nice way to spin it, but no, I thought it was amusing actually.
Do you know what? I quite like that.
I quite like it.
I'm tempted to get a T-shirt with that on.
No, yeah, it was bitter because like you'd left a band not wanting to leave a band.
But Andrew was lucky that he still had two other bands to fall back on.
Yeah, I think now if you talk to him about the situation,
so he
with
had
him
Calidus and he
Chaplin.
was in the proto stages with Chaplin anyway.
And I think now if you ask him about it, he would prefer the fact that he is in Chaplin.
And that's the kind of music that he wants to play.
We're both going down different routes. I was clearly at the time taking it down a more sort of rock.
So me and you,
we was kind of borderline metal rock.
Yeah, me and you have been in this room and watched Chaplin.
Yeah.
So we will support another band.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and Andrew came to see us at Town Crier, I remember.
He did, yeah, singing along at the back.
He was singing along, and for once he actually remembered the words.
Sorry, Andrew.
But, you know, and I think that's kind of how it is in any kind of music scene in any part of the country. You're going to come across people, you're going to be in bands with people, you need to get out of bands with people in a way that's not too detrimental to your fragile sensitivities or egos.
Ego, yeah, just say it. Everyone's got one.
Some are bigger than others.
Yeah, but everyone's got one. Everyone holds themselves in a high place because you have to.
Yeah, yeah. I suppose there's a point where you kind of have to think. I wouldn't stand in front of a load of people thinking I was brilliant if I didn't actually at some point think I was brilliant.
No, and egos are good things, not bad things.
Yeah.
Everyone needs an ego to survive because it's just basic things. If you didn't have an ego, you wouldn't do. You wouldn't get out of bed and make breakfast to survive if you didn't have an ego, because your ego tells you need to live another day. So
You need to live.
it's another way of thinking
about
about it.
Else.
Like my ego, I've got one. My ego says that I know how good of a drummer I am, but I know how better other people are than me. I've still got room to grow, but I know I'm not a bad drummer.
Yeah, but from my perspective, I think what people have seen is not your drumming, is more to do with how you've developed on a sort of emotional level and an intellectual level over the past couple of years. So you've gone from from my perspective, right? You've gone from this quiet little kid that I used to go...
Never used to say anything.
That never used to say anything. And I go and drum for them people. Go and show that kid how to play drums. Go and do this. Go and do that. Make me a burger and a cup of tea. So you've gone from that learning about being around and being involved in just basic youth work, I suppose, and then music, to someone that turned around to me and told me, you need to check yourself because you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong,
Actually,
you're doing this wrong.
was a bit shit.
Yeah, all that you did was a bit crap. So for I've watched the monster that is Adam grow, and there are days where you are cold and calculated. And I don't think you realise that that's how you come across to people.
No, I know exactly how I come across to people. That's why.
That's all right.
That's why I explain the things that I do, and that I sort of stutter a little bit when I say things. It's because I'm trying to word it in a way that other people can understand.
Yeah.
Because if I just said it how I want to say it,
it just comes across
then
as
that guy's a dick.
El Bastardo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because my brain is to the point, and I will just go, "That was shit."
Yeah. So,
but I can't just go to people and go, "That was shit." I've got to say,
I think
this
over
is
the
what
years,
you need to work on. It's got to be constructive.
Yeah, so over the years I think you've gone, that is shit, and I've turned it into, listen everybody, what we need to do is, the path we need to take should be, so you've made me fluffier, really, because if we go back to when you first knew me, I would just turn around to people and go, that's shit.
Well, yeah, maybe.
If when a kid came at like the boys club and they were like belittling people with their playing, or that kind, do you remember people used to come in and their mummies and daddies had bought them really expensive guitars, and they'd learn one lick off YouTube that's really good, and they couldn't do anything else. But they'd like make other people that are just learning feel not confident. They'd really knock the confidence of a room of people.
Yeah, because they was in a room with other people that were trying to learn,
and they were showing off
and progress. Whereas these learnt this one thing that was quite good, but couldn't play. They couldn't play with them.
Yeah,
they could just go, look what I can do. Then there was like, oh well, I can't do that.
So there was that moment that I had to do that kind of thing. So that's why we put the house band together. Do you remember? It's like, okay, the house band's going to show you what you should be able to do, and then we'd let the people that had learnt the chords or learnt little bits
just come
in, jam in with the house band, and then they'd have more confidence. And the kid that learnt the one trick pony thing would just be like, well, I can't do it. Well, transpose, it's in F. I don't know what that means.
What is transpose?
Yeah, what's that mean? And it gave confidence to people. So I kind of enjoyed watching that, which means, in a roundabout way, I've kind of enjoyed the 10-year journey that we've been on.
Yeah, because that's how I learned music.
Yeah.
I had the lessons with Rich, which were great, and I picked things up fairly quickly when it comes to the basics. But I think learning to play a drum kit compared to playing with people is completely different. If I just stayed at home and had paid Rich every so often and come and have some lessons, compared to here's a couple of lessons, now I'm going to go because I've got this job.
Yeah.
And then I just sit in a room with you and play for 2 hours. Be a different drummer, I think.
Yeah.
It's jamming and learning to play with people from the very start.
I think that
was a different thing.
That's a good point for anybody out there that's just playing their favourite Yngwie Malmsteen lick or Alexi Laiho, God rest his soul, in their bedrooms. I used to sit at home and play Wasp songs and stuff like that. So playing with other people is really, really important. Even if you're playing with people that may not be as good as you and you don't think they're that good, do you know what? They're going to get something out of it too. And sometimes imparting knowledge is the best part of it.
I always think if you're going to learn by jamming, then you always need to be playing with people that are better than you. Because they know where a jam can go. They know how a song works.
That's controversial.
And
you see.
yeah, it is. I always think you need to play with someone that's better than you. I'll use Slack Alice as an example again. Completely different genre of music to what we was doing at the time. James really good at his style, and then there's Joe who's really good at his style. Put them together, and
that's why that works.
Everything was in sort of like a 4/4 style.
Yeah.
But nothing I played sounded like a normal.
Yeah.
This is a straight beat. Everything was accented, which I didn't do much of. Everything that I was like playing guitar on drums.
So
I would accent every note.
A lot of the
completely
Slack
different
Alice stuff is it sounds looser than what it is.
It's very.
It's a lot more controlled than what it sounds.
It sounds loose, but we've spent ages going.
Absolutely.
This is how this bit goes, and just getting everything to go crack at the same point. And when I came into that band, the first jam we did, it was really good, but I was sort of there going, "This is weird."
But it's kind
it wasn't what I'm used to playing. It was a completely different style.
And I think that was another sort of you going out doing an apprenticeship for yourself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I didn't think
you
it was.
came back with some ideas. Some worked for us, some didn't.
Yeah.
But you put us under a lot of pressure. You put me under pressure to write riffs in a completely different way.
Yeah.
Which then made me go, okay, I need to look at the history of everything that I know and dig out how I play in this band, which has then helped us to develop the sound that we have now, I suppose.
Yeah. But playing the different style in Slack Alice, it was like I'm playing with people that are way better than me because I fit in the band. And once we got used to what we was doing, yeah, okay, it was it. But them first sort of songs being written, no, I wasn't that comfortable.
So, which is really strange, right? So now you didn't have a hand in like any of the wordsmithy stuff in the beginning,
nope.
or any of the riffs or anything. You just sit there and go, but the drumming's boring. I need something more.
Yeah.
So you'd be like,
I need to add some flair to it.
Yeah. So can this bit be different to that bit so that I can do something different? Which is now primarily the way we write now is you turn up and go, I've got this drum. I've got this drum bit and I've got all these words and I know it needs to sound a little like boom. And
this band.
This band.
Conjoined with this band to make this band.
Yeah. So then I go through like knowledge of riffs and shit and go, how about this one? And that's how we define it. And I know if you're in a band and you want to contribute, to some degree, when there's two people in the band that just do it the way that me and you do it, it must be really difficult.
Yeah, probably.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you know? Because like I don't write words. I never have done. I tried once to write lyrics, and I read them, and I was like, "Fuck me, this is shit." So I just stay away from them, and I wait, and people go, "I'm going to write a song. It's going to sound like this." Blah 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 blah, and I get them to like talk a melody or whatever, or talk about what if it was to be based on any other band, who would it be?
Yeah.
And then go, okay, I won't clone that guitar player, but I will be influenced by the spirit of them, if you like.
It's probably why when I write words, I have a band in mind and a melody, and I can base it off an actual song. So I know how the words can flow, the syntax, as you call it.
Yeah, it's one of the things I'm always saying, isn't it?
Yeah, always syntax. There's another word for it, I can never remember what it is. Let's just say melody.
Melody.
I know how the song's going to go, and I base it off an actual song. It's almost ripped. For when it's just in word form, it's an entirely ripped off song completely until we make it as a band. But that's probably why I do it that way, is because I know that you're going to base your riffs that way. So if I go this band, you're going to know what I mean.
So here's the bit that, right, most people may or may not know, right? So I'm a massive Zakk Wylde fan, but I don't play like Zakk Wylde. I can. I choose not to. So I dig back even further to people like George Lynch, or Jakey Lee is like one of my favourites. Or if I want something a bit more extreme, I'll go for Chris Holmes out of Wasp, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I wasn't even aware until you sent me some fucking quiz on Facebook. Do you remember? People were doing them quizzes in the first lockdown, and it was like,
yeah.
Do you know, your friend has challenged you, do you know this about them? And it's like 5 questions. What's their favourite drink? What's their favourite band? Who's their favourite porn star? That kind of thing. I don't know. So, and I think you sent one, and it was like favourite band, and I put Iron Maiden. And you were like, nah, favourite band's Metallica. And I didn't even know that. And me and you have been to festivals. Me and you have been to festivals and seen Metallica.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
I've seen them 4 times now.
But I know that just for fun, every time I want to piss you off at band practice, I'll play like the Trooper.
Yeah.
And you'll go, and then you'll go, no, I'm not doing it.
No, it's one of my favourite bands, but not my favourite band. It's one of my favourite drummers as well.
See, I find that strange because he's not the best drummer in Metallica.
No, I don't mean Lars. I mean Nico McBrain from Iron Maiden.
Oh, Nico McBrain.
Yeah. One of my favourite bands, Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
But not the favourite. But Nico McBrain's one of the favourite drummers.
Ah.
That's why I do all the flams.
Flim flams.
Yeah, Nico McBrain.
Absolutely. So I just find it strange, like all the things that you've listened to in your life that define how you play and how you then move forward, because you don't play anything like you did when we first put this band together. And in a way, I don't even construct anything the same way.
No. Sometimes I feel like I've gone backwards with the playing because I don't play as many of the covers anymore. And I don't play along to as many songs as I did.
I like playing covers, but I like playing covers just for my own entertainment.
Yeah, but for a long time now, most of the songs I've played is when we get together and play. So I play our songs.
Yeah.
But there's not many times where I've jammed with many people recently.
That's true. We're open to jamming.
Yeah.
We're all open to jamming, peeps.
Might need to play with some people and get back on the drumming thing.
See, I think that's why it was good when we got Matt in, because Matt thinks in a completely different way to the way we do.
Yeah.
And in the beginning he was like, no, just tell me what you want. Just tell me what you want. And we're like, no, Matt, contribute. So now he's kind of, bringing things out. And having Harvey turn up and do his stuff as well. When we just have that extra guitar in the background is always quite nice.
Yeah, we've always sort of played with that idea. Everyone's always said it is rhythm guitarist.
Yeah.
And I was always like, nah. Nah.
It has its moments.
Yeah, I agree with it. I didn't for a long time, probably because I'd never played with a rhythm guitarist before.
And I think when he does the thing where he just like stands out the way and is like just in the background.
Yeah, he just wanted to play. He didn't want to be.
It was like
I'm not in the band. I just
that Wizard of Oz moment. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yeah.
I was going to just point out one thing. Actually, he was just going to just you might be able to add this back in at the beginning or leave it near the end. So one of the biggest advances is the internet. So that's helped your generation steal music, but it's also helped with YouTube, your generation learn how to play music.
Yeah.
So like back in my day, you either had guitar lessons at school which weren't relevant to what you were playing. Yeah, because you could buy a book about how to play Beatles songs, but I don't fucking like the Beatles, never have done. So I had to learn by ear, and that's how I still play. I've got an ear for music, if you like. And when we like learn songs, I don't go on YouTube to learn how to play Black Sabbath solos or anything. I just sit and listen endlessly. And I think that helps me create things slightly differently, because I might not use the right A or the right B.
Yeah.
He might be playing it up on the 15th or the 28th or whatever fret, and I might be playing it in a slightly different one or on a different string. Same note, different string. You know what I mean? Because I just play it what's comfortable for me.
Yeah. It comes down to, does it sound good?
Absolutely.
If it does, who cares?
Who
cares if it's the right note he played?
But
sounds right.
See, in my own pretentious way, I'm always like, if you want it to sound like the record you've got at home, stay at home. Yeah. Play that record.
Yeah. It's the same as tuning drums or tensioning drums, whichever word you want to use. The amount of YouTube videos there are on how to do it correctly and getting a drum dial and everything needs to be exactly the same. I've never done it. I literally just push down on, like, say a tom, push down, see the wrinkles, tune out the wrinkles, give it a smack. If it sounds good...
I was going to say, it seems to work.
Like, that's all I do, and then I stick some moonshine on it, if it needs it. But I'll give it a smack. If I think it sounds good, I'll just trust my ear. I'm not going to see, is that one exactly the same tension as the one opposite it? And is the one next to that the same tension? Who cares? It sounds good.
So moving forward to end the cast, as it were, I think we should put on a topic or a couple of topics and get people to pick what they want us to talk about next time.
Comment if they're still listening all the way down here.
Yeah. So I like conspiracy theories.
You
need
like to do an episode on conspiracy.
Yeah. So maybe we do that, or I don't want to go do anything too political, really. because politics is one of them things. The problem with politics is that brings out the most hateful opinions of people.
It does, and everyone on Facebook, everybody's a politician now. I don't remember adding any politicians, but I've got loads.
And they're all called Karen.